Hi, this is Stacia, and I'm back with another video in my Flashcard Method series. So today I'm going to share two more flashcards because both of these are more difficult and certainly more involved. So we'll just do two today. This is 4 and 5 of set 1. So let's get on with it. Okay, this one's entitled Rook Ending. Okay, real original names, right? Okay, and it's black to move and win. And there's only one move that wins, and the rest draws. So you have to be very careful. Pause your video and see if you can calculate to the end. Okay, so I'll be honest with you. This one's kind of difficult for me. It does require a bit of calculation. So we have some candidate moves. So the first thing we should do is identify those. All right, so forcing moves would include rook takes rook, check. Gotta look at that one. We should look at a4, just trying to queen our pawn as soon as possible. And we can maybe look at a king move, maybe something like king d6, just to try and get closer to this. Okay, and I'm pretty sure if we analyze, well, one we can get out of the way is king d6, because I don't like the fact that white unpins. Yeah, and I'm looking at this now. Well, how would I win? Rook takes rook, pawn takes check. That looks annoying. So that might even be winning for white. Rook takes rook, pawn takes check, king d7, king f7. And then the pawn's going to promote with tempo. So it's going to queen way before black. So that's losing. So we can't take the rook. And if we can't take the rook and we play a4, then maybe rook e6 check comes next. So I kind of want to look at that for a second. What does the computer want? Like if I go a4, the computer says rook to e2 or rook to e1. Oh, look what's happening. Wow. But guess what? Oh, I'm sorry, that's rook e7. And look, they can't even play like this actually, because we have check here and here. And this is winning for black. Wow. Okay, yeah, see what I mean? I've done this flashcard many times. I still don't understand all the variations because there's so much to calculate here. Okay, but the main one we want to look at is rook takes rook and a4. I already know that this is not correct. Okay, so is rook takes rook winning? If rook takes rook, check, white has two options. They can take with the king or they can take with a pawn. So which one would they do? Well, if they take with the king, that does help promote, but the king would unfortunately sit on the e5 square, which is in line with the queening square. So I would queen with check there. So that might not be good then. So let's say rook takes, king takes, a4, f5, a3, f6, a2, f7, check. The king comes down. Is that winning though? Because it's actually a knight pawn in that case. And knight pawns can be a draw on the 7th rank. But the king's really close, so it also might be a win. Also, the king's not behind the pawn yet. So after check, I have a feeling that we would have something like queen g6 check or something. Or not queen g6, but Well, don't know what we would have. I guess Queen G7. Okay, very interesting. So I don't know if you guys are following me on this, but I was looking at this line. If king takes, I thought this was good for us, but it's actually a draw. Because, oh, and actually it's winning now. So I missed something. Yeah, because after check here, yeah, how is this winning? Queen G7 here. We're going to have some kind of trick, I think. So now the pawn is pinned, so we can move the king. Probably king E8. Now they're threatening to queen. Oh, yeah, and king E6, and white cannot make a queen because checkmate. So it's like, you know, in order to calculate this ending, this rook takes rook move, we have to see that it's a pawn, you know, on the 7th rank. It's a knight pawn. That means it's drawish, but it's not going to be a draw because we have that king E6 move with checkmate. So it's actually still winning. Okay, so you're starting to see what I mean. But the next line of calculation was pawn takes. So we know that king takes is, oh, and there actually was a crazy draw in there too. Let's look at what that was. After king takes A4, white can go king D4. Yeah, look at this. They're in the square of the pawn. So that's going to draw the game. Yeah, calculating these endgames, like switching plans in the middle and stuff, it's not something I'm good at, and I hope to learn from this puzzle. Still learning from it. Okay, so rook takes, king takes is a draw. We already know that. So I guess we don't have to look at rook takes, pawn takes. So in that case, what about A4? If we go A4, what are white's options? Well, their rook actually is pinned, so that's one funny thing. So we can still take the rook on the next move if we want to. So after A4, I think the whole point of the puzzle is that, well, it's not even a puzzle. I pulled this out of one of my games, by the way, but it feels like a puzzle. I think the point is that white is actually in zugzwang. They need to make progress in some way, but there's no good way to make progress. The pawn is blocked, so they can't push their pawn like I am. If they take my rook, I will take with the king. That actually helps me. And if they move their king up, I can then take the rook then. And they haven't really made progress. So I guess the only real try would be king E6 or king G6. Yeah, maybe king G6, because if we go here and then we want to take back with the pawn, the king's in the way. So we don't want that. So we should put the king here, I think. So that's the calculation so far. A4, king G6. Okay, so he's going to escort the pawn. And the king should stay off the long diagonal to avoid being hit with check when black makes a queen. So after A4 and king here, can we just take the rook now? If we take the rook, white would take back with the pawn. And then I can choose to either approach that pawn, which I think is probably wrong, but maybe not. Approach that pawn, or we can push. So if we go 1-2 queen, they go 1-2 queen with check. So I think pushing the pawn is wrong. So we probably need to move our king up. So looks like we have to go king D5 here. That would attack the pawn. Now White doesn't really want to go to f6. But I feel like if they go to f5, they're still going to have problems. Because remember, f6 will queen with check. So king f5. And I feel like in this situation where the two kings are kind of like side to side with the pawn, I feel like white has to spend time with the king. They're going to have to play king f6, king f7 in order to properly escort that pawn. But in the meantime, this pawn's rolling. So let's see how this would go. But I'm pretty sure this is the winning line because it looks familiar. So if king, well, let's say they push their pawn. Whoops. They push their pawn. We go a2. They go here. Well, it's already too late, I guess. But if I queen and they queen, is there any trickery? So if that's where the queens are. Well, there is queen f1 check. There probably is, but it might still be a draw. I'm not really sure. So probably we have to move our king up. All right, I'm going to look at this line now. I know we've spent a long time on this card, but I really feel like this is a good calculation exercise. And it's also a very interesting puzzle with a lot of lines. But okay, a4, or I'm sorry, a4 is the right move. I was right, king g6 is what the computer wants the most. So we'll play that, and now we'll take the rook. Now white will take with the pawn. And I think this is a draw, and I'm correct. So we can't play that move because both will queen, and it's just even. So instead of that, we approach it. Yeah, king d5, interesting move. So it's a tempo because white has to defend their pawn, and they can't really go king here because then we queen with check. So they have to go king here. So king to f5. Now we go a3. Now if they go e6, yeah, this is the point. So the point now is that I can play king d6. Okay, I'm not going to play a2 because then the pawn queens. But I play king d6. And if they bring their king up, now I push. And if they go here, now I queen with check. So they actually can't play king f6. And if they can't play king f6, then how are they going to escort their pawn? So white's basically in zugzwang right here because they need to go king f6 and they cannot. So wow, what a cool puzzle. I hope you guys liked that one. I really like it. Every time I do it, I see something new. So let's go to the next one. This is another, I rate them by 1, 2, and 3 stars, and this is another 3-star puzzle, so we're really hitting you hard today. All right, so this one is called Martial Tactics #1. Yeah, and I missed what I perceived to be a pretty, well, maybe not totally easy, but fairly easy calculation. I missed this game. And instead of playing the right move, I played one that actually resulted in me being slightly worse. So here is your challenge. What are the black candidate moves? That's #1. Evaluate each one. And what I mean by that is say, like, is it about equal? Is it winning? Is it losing? Okay, that's really what we want. And then #3 is give the simplest winning variation. So if you can do all 3 of those things, then you get all 3 points. But yeah, it's a little bit hard. Okay, so pause your video if you want, because I'm going to give the answer. All right, so we are going to do the first stage, which is identify the candidate moves. All right, and what I mean by that is what are the most forcing moves? That's what we want to look at. So we definitely want to look at queen takes, or I'm sorry, bishop takes queen. We definitely want to look at rook takes rook. we definitely want to look at queen takes bishop. And the last idea is to move queen to f5. So the last idea is that our queen's attacked, so move our queen, but continue to defend the bishop. Okay, so those are the 4 moves, and if you want to, go ahead and evaluate each one and see how you do. Okay, so we're going to go through these now one by one. Okay, we can start. Let's start with bishop takes queen. So does this move win? I think the answer is probably yes. If they take my queen, I then have a free rook I can take. So, and even when they take back the bishop, I'm up in exchange, but in this position, black must be winning because that rook is dominating the first rank, pinning the knight, pinning the bishop, and we're at material. So computer agrees black is -3 here. So it's like an exchange plus taps. All right. Now I do want to look at this though, because if we go here, white could choose to play this. But I think now we can probably just, oh, the bishop's actually hanging. So we could take the bishop. So we still have a queen and they lost a lot of material. So that one, that little intermezzo doesn't help. So, okay, bishop takes queen is winning. Let's look at the next one. What about rook takes rook? If we go rook takes rook, we're holding off on taking the queen. But now I think the queen could just recapture that. So that's unfortunate. So that's kind of just a trade then. And we're still under attack. So I think, you know, I mean, if you're expecting this, does that work actually? This is not bad, is it? Oh, but what about this? Takes. All right, so here white is better. And the main move, yeah, the main move of queen takes makes this an equal game, so no advantage there. Now let's look at the move queen takes bishop. Looks kind of crazy, and it is crazy. I think here, I mean, we're kind of hoping that white will do this and then we play check. So that would be winning, but so white can't take our bishop. But on the other hand, what if they just take the queen with the rook? And then we take here and then the rook could take back. In this case, we basically just did a bunch of trades. So it's equal and the computer even likes white. Probably because we're a pawn down, it's a Marshall. So, okay, so far the only winning move was bishop takes queen, rook takes rook was even, bishop takes, or queen takes bishop doesn't work. So the last move was queen to f5. What do you think of this move? So this one's a little harder to calculate in my estimations. But I think I like it because where does the queen go? I think the queen should absolutely move. White could throw in rook takes rook. And probably needs to. Or white could play bishop c2. Distracting the queen. So I want to try bishop c2. If this we take, and white's just not developed enough. It says black's, wow, it says black's, oh, the rook's hanging. I'm sorry, you guys. I feel like I'm really blind right now. Okay, rook's hanging. So bishop c2 doesn't work then. So, but what about rook takes rook? If rook takes rook and rook takes, then they could go bishop c2 because the rook's not hanging anymore. But this is still winning for black. And I think it's because, look at these pieces. And we're threatening check. And we're threatening check. And probably White's going to lose material there. All right, so Queen f5 turns out is winning as well. So kudos to you if you got all that. And the winning variation is the bishop one. I think that we don't need to play Queen f5 because we can just win right now. Just take the queen. You know, we're just going to take the queen. And if they take our queen, we take a rook. So not so bad. And if they don't take our queen, then they just lost their queen. So that's not good. So, okay, I thought that was a pretty fun exercise. I feel like I really rambled on the endgame one, so let me know if you enjoyed that sort of thing or if I should simplify it more. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with more flashcards.